Good afternoon, friends. I'm Elizabeth Peelman, and welcome back to Unearthing Shadows Light. Today, I want to touch upon a topic that, when brought up to people, it's more often than not a feeling. And that topic is death. How do we feel when that word comes out, right? Death. We're all going to go through it. We're not getting out of here alive. Not this life. You're not making it out here alive. And that's the purpose of life itself. But it only gets really brought to the forefront when we're trying to understand our life. Like, so you're driving on the highway, right? And you're in a crap ton of traffic, and everyone's slowing down, you're wondering what's going on, and then you move up and you're driving up and you come to a car that is flipped over, completely disheveled, and then you move your eyes to the street and you see what looks to be two shoes sticking out from underneath a sheet, and that is covering a person who has passed away from this car wreck. And many times when we see that, when it's brought to our forefront, to our attention, is when we go, oh, and our mortality is brought right to center stage. But only when those things are brought to us to make that correlation and connection. Oh, my life, I feel so bad for that person's family, this and that. But do we have these thoughts in our waking day, in our everyday moment to moment? And the truth is, we probably should. Death has been a really hard topic for me to even move through, and I've come from a very large family, and I remember 1 year growing up, there were like 12 people in my family that passed away. We were literally meeting at a funeral home every month and enjoying the celebration of life with our loved ones and mourning the passing of another one. And I know from doing my own, this is my truth, it doesn't have to be yours, this is my truth, my own work through it. The past lives that I have seen and I have gone through for myself, I have come to the understanding that I have checked out in every lifetime, like leading up to this one. And by checked out, I mean killed myself. I couldn't do it anymore in life. It was too much, and I wanted out, so I took myself out. Unfortunately, in doing so, you then have to come back and repeat all the lessons you didn't learn in that lifetime. That's my belief, that's my truth. It doesn't need to be your truth. This is just my truth. Please take with it what you can and leave the rest if it doesn't resonate. Same thing with the collective reading that I will be doing in just a few minutes. But I've checked out in every lifetime leading up into this one. So this lifetime, apparently one of my soul contracts was to make me as a human in this life so scared of death that I won't ever do it again until it takes me at the end of my life, whenever that will be. And I realized that in this lifetime, because I've struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts and tendencies, drug addiction, and it all goes together, so I wanted out. And in this lifetime, I also wanted out. Attempted, when I was back in high school, and I'm grateful that those attempts didn't carry through to the full spectrum. I didn't take my life. I did take my life with drugs. And that's a whole separate video that will tie into this, on when you do drugs, how it dulls your faculties. And wanting out dulls your faculties as well. So I had to really, and I've been sitting with this for about a year in general, and death. Say it with me. Death. I mean, we've all had a loved one, I'm sure, that's passed away. More often than not, most of you have had, really close loved ones, parents, husbands, children, everyone, something that's hit so close to home. And it triggers fear, resentments, being misunderstood, not being heard. It triggers all these emotions, and it triggers relief on many aspects. I apologize. I'm just trying to find the words to get them out properly, and I'm trying to break it down for myself, to then come share with you that death being like a fear, like for me, I think it's more so the fear of the transition. I'm not actually afraid to die. I think it's my fear of what we need to go through to get there. If it's like physical pain, leaving my children and my loved ones, like the empty shell of my body, how it will happen, the unknowing. I had to write notes, so excuse me for me like looking down. I have notes, because it's a heavy topic, and it's like the ultimate end of something that I don't know, or that we don't know, right? The loss of feeling life. And, the more that I've researched and sat with it and meditated with it and have been shown certain things, again, my truth, not yours. I'm just sharing my truth. Is the fear of death is like the worst fear, right, we face in our life, because it pervades our mind while we're alive, affecting our life. So then we're living our life afraid to die. But isn't that what we're leading up to, is death? The long sleep, the great release. And our fear of death stops us from living. To live properly and happily, we must rid ourselves of the fear of death. To live properly, death is feared because so many view it as an annihilation of their self and their person. But energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just moves from one form to another. So it gets brought up to our forefront when someone we love, or someone that we see love, losing somebody, to take on that pain and that understanding. And it can go a multitude of ways. It can make you fear life for the rest of your life until you reach the final destination of death. Or you start living. I could wake up tomorrow and be gone. I could go out and drive in my car and get hit, and have an accident and die. I could choke on something and die. Any one of us could literally be out in a moment's notice. And I know this is a really heavy topic, and I'm only skimming the surface. As I post more and all of my stuff, my YouTube channel grows and my website grows and whatever else, because I'm doing this for the collective. So I want to bring up those heavy topics. This is not called Unearthing Shadows Light for no reason. The shadows birth the answers into the light. You know, what if death is just the beginning? You know what? It's all a circle. You know, the circle of life, the Lion King. It's a circle. Death is a powerful attribute to life. It's the end of what we know. But if our energy can't be destroyed, doesn't it just shift out into a different form? So it's really something to think about. Does your fear of death get in the way of your living? And that's a question that you need to answer for yourself. I'm not here to really answer that for you, just to bring up what it brings to the surface. You know, death can leave a lot of unanswered questions for people that are still living. And yet the person who's passed is living their best spirit life over there. I do know in working with the other side that, you know, the other side is not so much up there, or hell is not so much down there. It's a different plane of existence. From my knowing and from what I've researched, it's about 6 inches above, you know, your head, is the other plane. It's literally right here. It's a shift. And I've talked to the other side, and I've sat with it, and that's my journey, you know. And I still, even in knowing and receiving messages from people of the other side, knowing that they're, you know, when you pass, you don't really hang on to the resentments here of this earthly plane. Like, the shit that we went through here doesn't much matter anymore. You're looking at it from a higher perspective. But it's still, even though I know these things and I've experienced certain things, and I just know it in my heart, in my soul, in my being, it still doesn't negate my own fear around death. And I'm moving through it. I'm moving through it as I'm sharing it with you. So, again, I'll ask you, is your fear of death not allowing you to live? So that being said, I'm going to do a collective reading. I have 5 cards today that I've pre-pulled from The Heart of the Fairy by Brian and Wendy Froud. These are the cards I'm going with. When I read them the other day with you guys, the Fae were just like, please work with us more. So here I am working with them more. And I find it interesting because the first 2 cards that come out, the first one was the Green Man and the second one is the Green Woman, like right next to each other. And in talking about death, right? What is green? Like, the color green is nourishment, thriving, living, an irresistible life force, vitality, awe. That's the Green Man. That's what he stands for. Like, the force itself, the energy and the life force that flows through all. Ancient. He's been here before man, you know. He is here before the Fae. He's ancient. He is the elder. He is existence. And it's an energy to be tamed and conquered and shaped to fit our own aesthetics. So when he appears, he is to be acknowledged and thanked for his life force that impels growth. So, I'm over here talking about death, and the flip side is the life force, right? It's mirroring the duality and understanding that we have much to live for, and paying homage and honoring the growth of it, and the vitality and what it stands for. And then you have the green woman, and she is stands for beauty and fruition and being subtle. It's subtle beauty. She's not all out in your face. This is the balance, the creative energy, the strengthening the qualities of the plant life and its beauty. It's full on life force. She's looking at you, she's breathing in, she's holding her power and her truth. When she comes about, you're gonna want to let her energy and her life force surround you with the nature and the gentle greening of life. They use greening as life force. Oh, that relationship is greening, it's growing, it's budding. Being strong in your convictions, but gentle in manner, and understanding your force and thanking it, and being set in your truth, in a power that's not such a force, but of calm. And the second one we have is the Lady of the Unicorns. And these pictures, they're just absolutely stunning. The artwork here is just absolutely beautiful. But this card is asking you to, have your belief. It's your magical connection. It's the guardianship. Unicorns are a symbol of purity and of grace and love. And she's like the keeper of all these magical things, of the belief system, of believing of something outside of yourself. She holds our need to believe. She's the keeper of our longing and of our magic. And it is important to live magically and true in life, and to be reminded of your own importance and your own magic and your own truth. If you have somewhere along the lines lost your belief in something, whether it be in yourself, in others, in a relationship, no matter what it is, you can call on her, and she will show up and hold in such high regard your beliefs and the magic that's within them. So you're being asked to thrive subtly in power to your magical belief systems and the connection that comes with it. And the fourth card is the Hope. And this card stands for the light in the dark and the faith and comfort. This fairy herself is actually the fairy of despair. Whereas on the wings of despair, there is hope, which is this little fairy character right here. And the fae of dark despair, she walks it with you. She sits with you in your despair. She's there as a comfort and an honoring, because the only way out is through, right? And that has to do with life as well. The only way out of a hard situation, of this life itself, is to move through it. And you take it all in, and then you let it all go. And I'm getting a little emotional right now, because it's so strong in its point that with the darkness comes the light, as I've said so many times. With the despair comes the hope, which is why, like, she is the fairy of despair, but the hope is right here, riding in on her wings. And we need to remember that, you know, there's always hope and light in the dark. We just have to look for it, and sometimes it's very hard to find, especially if you're struggling with really hard situations. The last card that comes about is the Lady of Joy, which I thought was a beautiful note to end on, because no matter through, you know, the despair, when the outcome is joy, it's finding what you like and what you love. It's the understanding of the happiness in really hard times and really dark moments of your life, in the death, you know. And death doesn't even, I say it as losing your life force in this life, and yes, that is the big to do, is dying and leaving your body and not being of this plane anymore. But death has many factors, right? Your relationship can die. Your relationship with yourself can die. You can have ego death, which is huge. Knowing that your ego no longer serves a purpose. It's all in good time and understanding. So it's still finding the joy in the dark and in the despair, you know, and in the hope that flutters towards the joy. It's here. And I have a feeling like a lot of people, my own emotions have been up and down. The triggers, non-stop triggers of things, past situations, my dreams have been insane. I'm just here to remind and walk with you that you're not alone. And I'm here with you to answer any questions you may need help with. And to know that we're just going to continue honoring the greening of life and our belief in the magic of life. And even though in despair and hard times, to still find the joy in it all. And don't allow your fear of death to stand in the way of your living. So thank you, my friends, so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and namaste.